presentation, Anastasia Moskovitz, and her research is devoted, or essay is devoted to the difference between the consumer price index and Ukrainian currency exchange rate dynamics. So, you are welcome.
Hello. It's an honor to have the opportunity to address to such a distinguished audience. The subject of my presentation is dependent between the consumer price index and exchange rate. My topic can be looked up under the following sections. Please look at the next slides. You can see the overview of my research. In the term of financial crisis defined by mass inflation and instability of exchange rate, such a problem as inflation is of current importance for Ukraine. Take a look at the next slide, which highlights the data of CPIs as the main indicator of inflation. From the graph, it is evident that the galloping inflation is moderate in Ukraine. The exception makes the period from 2001 to 2003. The 0.6 deflation is observed in 2002. The price grew less by 10% in 2001 and 2003. That testifies to moderate inflation. Such high price level in Ukraine satisfies of unstable and changeable economy in the country, including hryvnia as its national currency. Now we will make an attempt to build a single regression model of dependence between the CPI and exchange rate. The graphic method has been used for clarification of connection. Based on the graph analysis, it is possible to assume that with the increase of Y factor, CPI dynamics happens in compliance with X factor increase, Euro-UA exchange rate dynamics. It means the current dependence is represented by linear connection. Parameters of equation have been calculated, so derived regression equation had the following form. According to the graph, the average quantity of points is more close to a trend line that demonstrates of average dependence between the CPI and exchange rate. The meaningfulness of coefficient of linear regression proved by a student T criteria. Verification of regression model adequacy completed with correlation analysis. For this purpose, it is necessary to define the closeness of correlation between variables. According to this, the value of theoretic correlation given in calculation equals to 0.403664. According to this number, it is possible to draw a conclusion that about 40% of general aggregate of change in CPI were predefined by such factor as change in exchange rate. Also, in my essay, export and import delivers was considered. The import quota was calculated. Thus was made a conclusion that the Ukrainian average person spent 48 out of 100 hryvnias for the import. Those on the next slide, please pay attention on the first flow chart, which shows how a considerable quantity of imports can lead to CPI growth. Another major factor which has an essential influence on inflationary process is the inflow of foreign loan capital. In the previous years, banks apply to foreign financial institutions to provide profitable loans to Ukrainian population. So please look at the second flow chart which shows how inflation can be caused by profitable loans in foreign currency. Summing it all up, it is obvious that the exchange rate, despite different factors influencing inflation, put proper pressure on the CPI. That's confirmed the fund regression equation, which allows to formulate economic essence of the model, according to which 40% of changes in CPI are caused by the change in exchange rate. You've been perfect listeners. Really appreciate this. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them.
Thank you very much. To pick up your words, you were a perfect presenter, and I really appreciate what you have done. Thanks a lot for your perfect presentation. May I still ask some questions? I would like to turn to your regression analysis.
Okay.
So maybe we can have the slide.
Okay.
Could you first of all describe the data? So yearly data or monthly data, what is the data?
You see that the Y factor is represented by the consumer price index in percentage, and the X factor is represented by euro exchange rate dynamics in percentage. If you will look in my annex, you will see all the data which was calculated by me in
I see.
in Annex B.
So these are the 30 points you managed in your Appendix B. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Second question is, and this is a quite econometric question. What about changing the regression? So you regressed CPI on exchange rate. So the independent variable is the exchange rate.
Independent variable is exchange.
Exchange rate in your analysis.
Yeah.
And maybe it's also a good idea to see the CPI as the independent variable and the exchange rate following from the development as the dependent variable.
That's a very interesting question, because I'm already done that, and while my research. Of course, it will be more logical to do like that, but following according to the result that I've got, the regression was not so good, and that is what.
I see.